Jens Laerke, who is from the UN's Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. Jens, thanks so much for making the time to speak to me. Now, first of all, I spoke a little there about the scale of the crisis in Sudan. When you're faced with difficulty that profound, the humanitarian assistance that you work to raise, how does that help? What's the money for, and how much difference can these appeals make?
Indeed, it's interesting that you mentioned Sudan, because Sudan is going to be the largest single appeal that we have in the world next year, over $4 billion US. I think for those about 14 million people inside Sudan who have received some sort of assistance, humanitarian aid during this year, it matters that we raise the money. Of course, our job is to provide humanitarian aid. A lot of it, including in Sudan, is life-saving. It is food, it is water, it is shelter, it is protection for people. So those who receive it, of course, for them it matters. For those who do not receive it because we are underfunded, then for them it matters even more.
So clearly you're making a big difference to those to whom the aid is making it through. But the big picture, the humanitarian crises themselves, these appeals come thick and fast. The crises themselves drag on. Do you think that there should be or could be some kind of evolution in the way that global solidarity is expressed in offering support to regions like Sudan facing crisis?
Absolutely. What we're trying to do at the moment is some sort of a reset of the world's relationship with the most vulnerable people in the world. What we see is these humanitarian appeals are not, as many think they are, short-lived. In and out, save some lives, and then we move on. In actual fact, the average length of the time that we stay in these countries is 10 years. 10 years. And why is that? There is an intensification of crisis where we see climate emergencies coming on top of conflicts. That means that for a family, they not only do not have enough to eat or clean water, they also do not have health care, and they do not have education for their children. And we are left as humanitarians to hold the bag, if you like, when all of this happens. And that's why these appeals grow longer and longer in terms of time that we have to stay, and the needs of the people becomes deeper and deeper.
Now, you mentioned there the impact of climate change. Earlier on in the bulletin, I was talking about how, alongside conflict, we increasingly see the impact of, I specifically mentioned Mozambique, Malawi, even Mayotte, which were hit by a cyclone. So when you're considering the increased impact that extreme weather events are having, how are you factoring that into your plans going forward to consistently adapt humanitarian assistance being offered to the needs that you find?
Well, there are ways where some of these climate emergencies can be predicted. Data on climate has developed enormously in the past years, so we are pretty sure that we can predict where the next big drought, for example, is going to happen. So we try to front load the funding, we try to front load the aid so that we can provide some assistance before the disaster hits. But we need action on more areas than just the humanitarian. We need political action to solve the conflicts. We need climate finance to look at the longer term resilience of these countries that are very, very vulnerable to climate change. And we need development actors to step up hand in hand with us as well, so that we get the schools, we get the healthcare, and so on in place in these countries. But at the end of the day, the bottom line, international solidarity will still need to step up, and we do need our life-saving humanitarian appeals funded in full.
Thank you so much for that breakdown. Jens Laerke there from the United Nations Office of Humanitarian Assistance.